Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another exciting podcast interview in our new series on automotive first-party data management and the rise of CDPs and marketing automation platforms. On today's show, I have David Regn. He is the CEO of FullThrottle, one of the pioneers in helping dealers manage their first-party data. David, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brian. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, David, as I've been working on the research on first-party data management and the rise of CDPs, I know that you've been working a long time on unifying the dealer's first-party data to track and activate customers that are on the dealer's website. When you think of all the buzz now, what you were doing wasn't even understood or even a buzzword. People are now coming into this space. You've had some experience. When we're talking to dealers today about what you do at a very high level, what's the value prop that you're communicating to dealers about first-party data management?
Yeah, Brian, I think that, there's a lot of buzz out there right now, and, you're elevating the industry in terms of general understanding around CDPs and marketing automation platforms. For us, when we set out to really help our clients, better understand, the data sets that they have in their DMS, and how to help unify the customer, household profile, for us, it was all about just, understanding the value proposition of why understanding your customer and all of their transactions, at the household level, how many cars they purchased from you in the past, how many service visits, have they had. But for us, the fundamental thing is let's look at it from the consumer's point of view. And once we, unify this data, how do we help, deliver more relevant and effective messaging, to the customer? Because we want to help our clients, build lifetime value. And I think that was a big thing is, we've lived in this, world of, CRM, email response, email blasts for so long, and we forgot about what's in it for the customer. So a couple of fundamentally things that we did when we talked about how do we better unify the customer data, we asked ourselves, where can we get the best information for that customer record? And the answer is simple, from the customer. So we started thinking about how do we get that information. So that's one of the things that we've developed in FullThrottle is our vehicle wallet, where customers are able to update all their information in their household profile, and that includes deleting vehicles they don't own anymore, updating vehicle mileage, updating service records, even if they're not servicing at that dealership. So that's really been a driving force in creating utility for the customer, and ultimately then delivering back data to that household profile that's 100% accurate. So that's really been transformational in the last couple of years for our clients.
David, I was reading a lot of different research reports and marketing reports, and there was an interesting study that I included in the CDP report, which stated that public companies that are leaders in customer experience outperform their peers that are perceived as having poor customer experience, by a factor of 3 to 1, meaning their total return on investment is significantly higher. And it really hit me, in automotive retail, having a seamless, sustainable customer experience, I don't think the auto industry has ever been described in that way, but with a unified customer record that would allow us to send appropriate messaging via email, via text, deliver the right video messages into their household. We're talking about elevating marketing, communication to a level that's never been available before, or more commonly available in automotive. And to me, I love when you say about lifetime value. When it comes down to when dealers say, well, what am I going to get out of this? I'll be like, well, listen, the companies outside of automotive of your size with your capital investment realize the power and value of their first party data. So why do you think it's finally hitting automotive, David? Is it a technology shift? Is it awareness shift? Is it the next generation, a younger mindset, are owning dealerships? Why now? Why the hype now?
Well, Brian, I think as the industry evolves, I don't think anyone would deny that we need a seamless customer experience for retail automotive. So I think that as people think about that, and we all know that just doesn't mean digital retailing. It means how do we drive more loyalty? And I think when you get pressures from the outside, like Tesla, et cetera, that starts to chip away at real market share and test the whole franchise dealer ecosystem, I think there becomes a heightened awareness to customer value, customer experience, as well as I think thinking bigger picture. A lot of times in retail automotive, all of us, we live in these 30-day cycles of we need to sell cars this month. We need to drive repair orders this month. I think you are getting this next generation more strategic thought process around it costs a lot more money to go out and acquire a new customer. So how do I do a better job of retaining my customer base, as well as how do I do a better job of selling the next car to that customer, whether it's a sibling or a relative, whatever it may be. And I think as we learn more about the customer journey and the touch points through data, it's really easy, like you just mentioned, they're outperforming 3-1 with a better experience. I think we all as consumers want that great experience, and that includes don't send me communications with a vehicle I haven't had in 7 years, whatever it may be. So we all I think need to up our game in terms of delivering better communications and educating the customer really about ownership life cycle, and how to really drive value as a dealership in that customer life cycle. So I think that's why you're seeing dealers really start to pivot and think more strategically about the seamless experience, the integrated commerce, and those are all the things that make it easier when you have the right data.
So David, one of the things I found extremely confusing, and frankly, I don't have total clarity on this, is how each CDP platform is actually unifying, enhancing the data. So let me just set this question up properly. You mentioned an example just in your response of getting a letter in the mail or an email of a vehicle that you no longer own, or getting a service mailer immediately after you've serviced your car, or you've moved and some very important information that you needed for the vehicle, like maybe you paid it off, they're shipping the title, to an old address. So that comes down to what I call like the black arts of, are you using the Equifaxes, the Experians, the Axioms of the world to append additional phone numbers, append additional emails? Are you subscribing to the National Change of Address database? Are you using household wallet data from third-party sources? The clarity that dealers have is they know the picture of the customer in their DMS isn't up to date. The fragmented communication that they get in the CRM only represents a period of time. So when you onboard a dealer's data and they say, well, how are you enhancing it? How are you activating it? How are you keeping it up to date? I know that's a big question, but how would you, in just a few minutes, explain what you're doing, the frequency of that, so that a dealer listening to today's podcast says, hey, that David guy, I like what he's saying. I believe that's a good approach to making sure my data is actionable.
Yeah, Brian, that's there's a lot to unpack in that question, but it's a great one because I think that's around finding the truth in everything around data and what we're doing as an industry. Really, I think people will hear the word golden record a lot in the coming years. For us, the approach that we've taken at FullThrottle is that household address is really the unifying record to understanding the customer as best as possible. So when a customer buys the car from the dealership, they register the car at their household. Our platform is integrated with the USPS, so we do know if people are moving, because it's so important to understand that the entire household, as opposed to understanding just a name in your DMS. Many times, I know, for example, in my household, my wife wants nothing to do with buying a car, so the car's registered in our household or in my name, yet she's the primary driver of one of those vehicles. So it's important to start with what is that foundational currency that you're thinking about in your data structure. So for us, we look at the number one kind of record is the physical address, and then we build from there. Many people have multiple email addresses. Most people just have a cell and a home phone number. Then if you're trying to marry all that data together, it can become very, very clunky in terms of appending third-party data to your first-party data. So we always understand and communicate the pros and cons of appending data to your first-party data when we're working with our clients. In some cases, it might make sense. In others, it might not. And Brian, as I mentioned earlier on, one of the ways that we are, enhancing, our data for our clients on a monthly basis is having the consumers update their own information. And if you look at the engagement and the records that are being updated for a dealership on a monthly basis, it's really remarkable, because I believe that customers want to be communicated with the right information as well. So by them giving the right information, they're going to get more relevant communications and messages. And that's really, I think, goes back to enhancing the customer experience. And if we have the right information for our clients, then we should be doing a much better job with communication, messaging, and timing.
Mm. So David, let's talk about, kind of, there's a couple different buckets that I found from the research This is identifying customers on the website, identifying prospects on the website, and identifying shoppers not on the website, but in the local community. So let's start with level one. You have a record in the FullThrottle CDP of every customer that the dealer's done business with. You do your data hygiene, you do your household profiling, but then a customer comes to the website, doesn't submit a lead form, doesn't call yet, but's out shopping. Does the FullThrottle platform give you the ability to identify existing customers on the website to trigger some type of a workflow? Where are we in what I'm going to call known customers shopping on the dealer's website anonymously?
Yes, Brian. So within our platform, again, around our household identification, methodology and proprietary patent that we have a patent for, we are able to identify that that Brian's household is back shopping on the dealer's website. If it's a dealer group, we can send that signal across dealerships as well. Yes, so that sends a signal back into the CDP. We within our CDP platform, we also have AI that looks at propensity to buy a car or come in for service. So it also scores that household. And then there's two things that a dealership can do from there. One is based on the rules that we set on the propensity, it can send that right into the dealership's CRM as a opportunity, or they could go right into the CDP and look at all of the active shopping households at any time.
And then, David, let's talk about the second class. And this is someone that hasn't done business with the dealership yet. So they're not in the CRM even as a lead, but there are companies like LiveRamp and Newstar and others that have the ability to identify an anonymous shopper. Not that they would reveal who they are, meaning, but they could put that person in an audience to activate across, Facebook or an OTT. Where is your platform on activating marketing campaigns for anonymous shoppers that would be not found currently in the CDP?
Yeah, Brian, I think that's, the thing that we're best at, again, where we have our patent of being able to identify shopping households that have, opted in to be able to share that information that allows us to market to those, anonymous or people that haven't submitted a lead or a phone call. So the power of that is, one, we do that at FullThrottle in a complete cookieless environment to identify those shopping households. And we build those audiences, from the day our technology is installed on any digital properties that we're tracking for your automotive group. We're able to, curate those audiences and activate them not just across, Google and Facebook, but across an entire ecosystem that we've spent the last, 4+ years building out with companies like iHeartMedia, Spectrum Reach, Effective, Amazon, and a few other DSPs where we can, activate that data 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We've got always on, audiences that, again, we can just use our scored, API around buying propensity, as well as, you can always do look back campaigns if you want to enhance your always on. So being able to curate audiences within our FullThrottle platform is really our specialty. And those are, historical transactional audiences, as well as those what we call first party data from the future that we're building and collecting each day on behalf of our clients. And then we're able to activate that. And Brian, the other thing is, again, because of the household identification, we're able to, give our clients either, direct, dealerships, agencies, media companies, insight into what media is helping them sell cars. So within the entire ecosystem, we've got that attribution that takes, and looks back at that sales transaction, and then we can show the whole closed looped ecosystem.
So, David, I want to make a distinction for our listeners today that I don't want lost in what used to be happening. In the past, dealers knew if they put the Google Pixel or Facebook Pixel on their website, that they could retarget those people on the Google or Facebook audience. We're not talking about that. We're talking about an anonymous shopper coming in, identifying that household, that person, that household, and then being able to take that audience and push it directly, say, to Spectrum's OTT campaign, or to push that out to a trade desk, or to push that out to whatever media platform, an Amazon platform. So it's not just retargeting, it's knowing the household of the anonymous shoppers so that you could drop, for example, a video ad right on their TV in their household. Am I explaining that correctly? Because I don't want people to think that this is just like basic retargeting.
No, Brian, that's a great point. And I think that, again, just, when people get comfortable with methodology or an old tactic, it's hard to deprogram your brain around that. So I just want to talk about kind of traditional retargeting. Just like you said, Brian, you drop a pixel, on your website. You can retarget that pixel if someone has their cookies enabled on Facebook, etc. But as we look at the industry, there's a lot of holes in that, given around cookie deprecation, retargeting, etc. So when you look at the leakage, if you're just doing a old school programmatic retargeting strategy, you're probably reaching somewhere in the range of 30 to 50% of an unknown audience, right? You're reaching them, but you don't know who they are. It's just a black box cookie that you hope that you're hitting the right people. The difference for us, like you mentioned, is we are collecting and understanding the household profile and having that household currency. For example, with a Spectrum reach or an effective, through our identification, through a company called Blockgraph, and to the Cableco's data, our match rates for those audiences are somewhere in the 90 to 95%, realm, which just doesn't exist in the traditional kind of programmatic retargeting way. So I think that as the industry starts to understand, there's major differences between programmatic retargeting, household targeting, and influence, because also, for the most part, anyone that's deploying a retargeting strategy right now is just retargeting to that device that was identified on the dealership's website. What we also do is we want to influence that entire household and look at those other devices within the household as well. So when you start thinking about that, you're totally right. There's a different methodology, and there's a different audience that you're reaching, which gives you so much more audience incrementality than with a kind of old age programmatic retargeting strategy.
So you mentioned a patent. So let's talk about that. Can you give us a little idea of what that patent's all about?
Yeah, Brian, the patent is really about how we identify those shopping households. We use a couple things around geolocation, browser cache, etc. But it all resolves down to a household, and that's really what we've been able to innovate in the industry. While everyone was so focused on cookies, IP addresses, mobile IDs, we were just really looking about how do we get a better understanding of the household and the consumer, and that's really allowed us to get that advantage in the marketplace to be able to utilize that household currency, because as I mentioned earlier, everyone's registering their car to a household. We know what people live in a household. We've got the national change of address that allows us to update those records. So with a high level of accuracy, nothing is perfect. Our records, given the fact that we're using the household, is much more accurate than having 5 email addresses, a mobile ID, a cookie, an IP address, and trying to fingerprint all of those things. So that's really why when we were awarded the patent this year, we were super excited, because it truly is an innovation that the industry has not seen, nor has really been focused on, because again, like I said, it was really around this kind of historical fingerprinting methodology that most companies were trying to understand who their customers are.
So David, let me ask you a question. As part of this research, I found a wide range of approaches to building this golden record, the unified view of the customer. And so most of the CDPs have either the DMS and CRM or one of the two as their initial building blocks. And then what they do from that initial data varies greatly. You are tracking when people come to the dealer's website. You are able to see what's going on in the CRM. But my research indicated that a lot of customer contacts are not in the CRM. So we're talking about ingesting phone logs, directly ingesting text messaging platforms, not just what was sent through the CRM, and ingesting directly chat engagement sessions that were not part of the CRM. And very few companies have added that piece of the puzzle in. So on your roadmap, or what is currently available today, other than ingesting data from the CRM and the DMS, what other dealer-owned communication channels are you pulling in on a daily basis?
Yeah, Brian. So one is, I totally agree with you that the CRM is a messy place in the dealership's ecosystem, for a number of reasons, right? Garbage in, garbage out. That becomes a big problem. On our standpoint, Brian, like, we have clients that want to ingest. I think phone call data is important, right? Like, they want to have a better understanding of the phone calls coming into their dealership. Are they new sales opportunities, new service opportunities, or are they repeat sales customers, repeat service customers? So when we go through kind of working with the client and trying to understand what their goals are. Those are things that we will walk them through and say, hey, what do you really want to do with this data? How do we want to attach it to a record? Does it best live within your CRM? Does it best live within the CDP? Or is it just a signal that we're flagging in the CDP? So that's kind of the way that we look at it. So we can send those phone call signals into this CDP again to do those things. But I really think it comes down to what the goals are of the dealership, and then how do those signals affect or alter the communication flow. So it's really, I think it's a messy it's a messy space, and something that when a dealership is really planning their data strategy, their CDP strategy, it's got to be thought out, and really understood. I mean, we're working with a couple big groups right now that are working on Salesforce projects, and it just becomes a very, very complicated ecosystem of what signals you really want to drive communication. So I just heed caution to more doesn't equal better. So really laying out that strategy before you just want to throw data into the CDP or the CRM.
No, and I understand that, David. I refer specifically to phone calls because if the salesperson, receptionist, whatever, doesn't think it needs to be in the CRM, it doesn't go in yet. A lot of the new telephony platforms are doing voice analysis, using their own AI, determining whether it was a service or sales or parts call, whether it was an opportunity or not. And now this date, time, phone number, and outcome is available. I think it's an important signal to have. But it all comes down to also, you mentioned, what are the goals of the business? And I want to switch now to data activation. In my report, I use the word data activation, not just limited to marketing campaigns, although that is what most of the activation is today. But activation could be to automate text messaging on a one-to-one basis, automate a personalized email, not a marketing email, to an individual. It could be assigning a outbound digital voice assistant call to reach out to a customer and let them know that a recall is now listed for their vehicle without using, let's say, a human body. There's a lot of activation. There's marketing, and then I call it communication. So when a dealer thinks of Full Throttle, the CDP is active. They set up segments. They set up some life cycle rules. In its current state, without somebody exporting an audience and importing it into a marketing platform, what is Full Throttle doing to help automate the actual campaigns, that Facebook VIN level campaign, or the Google VLAs, or the Spectrum OTT delivery, because maybe one of the audiences are SUV and truck shoppers. So you want to make sure those videos in those homes are properly presented. So what media channels can you activate with very little manual intervention?
Yeah, right. Great question. So I mentioned the vehicle wallet. So really, one of the things that we do that again is driven around a better customer experience is getting away from kind of what the industry has, email blast, right? And I'm going to send you a happy birthday message, Brian. I'm going to send you a newsletter. I'm going to send you you're due for tires. I'm going to send you that you're in an upgrade position. Next thing you know, Brian, because these communications might be timed out in multiple platforms, or just within kind of your current ecosystem, and you're next thing you know, you're over communicating and over messaging your customers. So we said, how do we rethink this and deliver a more effective communication? So once a month, and really the root of this was around, all of us are familiar with getting a credit card statement, a bank statement, etc. So how do we build an effective once a month communication that provides value for our clients' customers? So every month, again, based on our AI, a customer receives their vehicle statement. Within that vehicle statement, Brian, is all the modules that we built around our AI and machine learning, and that includes the vehicle, updating the vehicle wallet. So Brian, you can update your vehicle wallet if something has changed with your vehicle, whether you've had it serviced at a Jiffy Lube, or you're driving more miles than it says in the wallet. That's updated by the consumer. Also, within the vehicle wallet, you are getting a health grade. So we are scoring the health of your current vehicle. So we score that around, are you following your maintenance intervals? Are you coming in for your oil changes, etc. So you get it's like high school, you get an A for doing a great job, and you get an F if you're failing at your vehicle health maintenance. In addition to that, we are also putting the most timely offers based on all of the intelligence that we have around that household. So if you are due for tires based on your driving habits and the data that we see, there could be a tire offer in there. If you're in an equity standpoint, you can see the value of your current vehicle. You can see how much equity you have. You can shop within the vehicle wallet, and you can apply your equity to your inventory, as well as you can obviously go shop publicly for that as well. So all of that, Brian, has really allowed us to see that email blasts, as you kind of look at them right now, might get 8 to 12% open rate, maybe 1 to 2% click-through rate. Our vehicle monthly statements, anywhere from 20 to 40% of these are getting opened, and then the engagement is in the 30 to 40%.
Wow.
So we've reimagined the communication with customers to provide utility. So that's been fundamentally has changed the game for our customers. So that is always on. We do have, if a client doesn't want to have that on, they don't need to, but that's an always on, off the shelf, tremendous value within the platform. In addition to that always on campaigns, the ones that we always recommend that should be always on is that household retargeting, if you will. So the system is constantly identifying all your in-market shoppers, all those households coming back to your website, and is marketing to them through Facebook, Amazon, you name it, video. So those campaigns are always on. And then in addition to that, you can build what we talk about are those ad hoc campaigns. So, Brian, if you're a Ford dealer, and you want to target all the active shoppers over the last 90 or 120 days, people that have looked at a Ford pickup truck, you could then take that audience and do a campaign to that audience. And again, it can be all omni-channel as well. So we found that really making it easy with the always-on campaigns, driven by the vehicle wallet, and those other kind of digital methodologies are what most of our clients do. But where we've, really had, seen a lot of great results across dealer groups is, really collecting all these audiences and then segmenting them out for things like a truck campaign or an EV campaign and activating those audiences, because we know, based on all the data that we're seeing, there's really two types of shoppers: someone that's ready to buy a car right now, and the other ones that are taking 45 plus days and they're in market much longer, from all the data that we're seeing. So that's really what we've been able to build in. We say a customer, a dealer client can go into the CDP and look at their stuff every day, or they can go in at the end of the month and look at the results, because we do have really the automation that runs 24/7.
So David, let me ask you a question. And something just hit me here. You mentioned households and you also mentioned attribution. So let me just ask a question. I think I know the answer to this, but since you know households, different people who may live in that household. So if someone's exposed to, let's just say, a truck ad in their home because you pushed out the campaign to Spectrum or Effective, using block graph, making sure that video ad is delivered, whether they come and visit the website or not, when they come in and purchase that truck, you're going to be able to show that home was exposed to the truck ad, even though they didn't click through, and show some influence or attribution. Is that correct?
Brian, yeah. And with the cable codes, we have a little more, the audience needs to be a little bit wider given some of the legal restrictions, but yes, you are correct. And Brian, I also want to mention, within the platform, regardless of if it's something that the platform is activating or your agency is activating, you're able to see all the influence. So if an agency has the proper UTMs set up on Google or Facebook, we also can see the influence of if they are clicking on a Google ad or clicking on a Facebook ad, but didn't, convert into a traditional CRM lead. We still get to see that household was influenced by Google or Facebook. For Google, we can actually see the influence down to the keyword level. So within our platform, there's the attribution that goes way beyond just what the platform's doing. It can be applied pretty much to all of your digital tactics, as long as the UTMs are set up properly.
Right, because as long as the tags are set up, when that click comes in, whether the ad campaign was run by FullThrottle or another party, you're still resolving that household. So that's really helpful, especially because dealers typically may have a service marketing campaign that the OEM uses, maybe because of certain relationships or decisions, the dealer's running some of their own email marketing. So having that full transparency, because you'll resolve the household when they come to the site, I think is super important. David, it's really come full circle. There are a handful of people who've been in this for a number of years. I think the spotlight is coming on your work, and there's a lot for dealers to learn about. I want to encourage everyone listening to today's podcast to get a copy of my research report, The Rise of CDPs in Automotive Retail. You can get a copy of that report on brianpash.com. You should also know that at the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference in May in Austin, Texas, we're going to be having the first Automotive CDP showcase. We're going to be having a number of the companies who are trying to educate dealers on first-party data management at the show. It's a very, very important time. I want to encourage dealership managers and C-suite executives to get people out for education. There's a lot of little details, very important details that you may not know about. You surely won't know which questions to ask, but through better education, the research report, and talking with industry leaders, I think you'll get it, and it will help simplify your shopping journey. David, for dealers listening to today's show who want to get a demo of the platform and ask a lot of questions, where's the best place for them to go to set up that appointment?
Thanks, Brian. FullThrottle.ai is our website, and we are working, like I mentioned with Brian. We've got direct dealer clients, we've got a great agency partner network, as well as a media company network. So our goal is to bring education to the ad tech industry, and really help people best understand their data and how to put their data to work for their dealerships, and ultimately drive better lifetime value from their customers.
Well, David, thank you for taking time with me today and being part of this change management process. I want to encourage all dealers listening that it's going to take a partnership of the vendor community and the dealer community to undo years and years of bad data practices, with upcoming privacy legislation, data handling rules, data exchange formats changing. This is the time to get your dealership up to speed so that you don't get caught on the wrong side of legislation. You surely don't want to continue to missing opportunities that better first-party data management can yield. If this is the first time you're listening to one of my podcasts, you should know that I interview dozens of leaders who are transforming automotive retail every year. You can go to brianpash.libsyn, that's LIBSYN.com, to see a full list of all of the podcasts, or you can look for the Brian Pash podcast on Google, on SoundCloud, or any of your popular podcast players like the Apple Podcast channel. So I want to thank you for joining us. Don't forget to join us in Austin, Texas in May. Go to digitalmarketingstrategies.org. It's where automotive leaders are meeting to discuss first-party data management, and great companies like FullThrottle will be part of the conversation. Thanks for listening in. David, thanks for your time today. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you and your team push the industry forward in the days to come.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.